Hi friends, welcome to your Happy Hips Mobility Yoga practice. So today's practice is going to be almost completely hands-free. You might have to use your hands or your forearms a little bit to get into a position, but we're going to be on our back the majority of the time and then seated. So no pressure on the hands or the wrist for this practice. We will be focusing in on the hips, obviously. We tend to, as humans and especially as women, hold a lot of tension and stagnant energy in the hips. So this practice is going to be great physically for working on those tight hips, sort of increasing the mobility in the hip joints, and hopefully helping us release some stuck emotional energy if there is any there. Okay, so you will definitely need a block for today's practice, and of course a blanket if you would prefer to be laying on that or seated on that during practice, which I'm sure you've noticed by now, I always have a blanket. So we're going to get started lying down on our back with our knees bent and our feet at about hips width distance, okay? And just keeping that block handy to where you can reach it. We are going to use it while we're lying down on our back. So coming down and just taking a moment to arrive on our mat. As always, connecting in with the body and the breath. So just pausing here and taking 3 breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling, gentle sigh out of the mouth. And as you continue to bring that attention into the present moment, taking a little effort here to begin to stretch through the hip joints. I like to press my hands into my thighs and then lengthen through the spine, almost as if I was trying to crawl out of my hips, if that makes sense. So just pressing into the tops of the thighs and creating a little space in the front of the hip joints, taking a breath. Okay, releasing the hands. We're going to make some hip circles. So bring your knees in towards the upper body. Hands can come to the knees. And I want these circles to be in opposite directions. So meaning we're not going to keep the knees connected as we make the circles. So one knee is going to go in one direction and the other knee is going to go in the opposite direction. Okay. And just moving nice and slow, breathing here, starting to get into those hip joints. You're probably going to notice some cracks and some pops and some hippity hops. It's totally normal, okay? So don't judge it unless it's painful. Don't worry about it. Okay, when the knees come back together, pause and reverse. So whatever direction you were going in, we want to reverse it. Okay, bring the knees back to center. Let the feet return to the mat. We're going to take the feet as wide as the yoga mat and windshield wiper from side to side. If you have a tendency to move quickly when you windshield wiper your legs, I want you to really slow it down and allow yourself to notice where the joints feel a little sticky. Good. Bring the knees back up through center and then bring the feet back into hips width distance. Knees are still bent. We're going to inhale the right foot up towards the ceiling. And then on the exhale, let the right foot cross over your left knee. So we're in our figure four position, and we're going to start to get into some mobility exercises here. Remember, I said this is hands-free, and this is going to include not using our hands to always press away or hug in the lower extremities for this practice. So I know I've directed before where you take your hand and you press your right knee away from the upper body in this figure four position. Today, I want you to practice pulsing that knee away from the upper body using the strength of your hip joint. Okay, so we're not using our hands. We're using the leg muscles in the hip joint to press the right knee towards the bottom of our mat and then let it return to normal. Do that. We want to go for 5 total. So pressing the knee away, let it come back. Do 3 more. Good. Return to stillness. Take a breath here. The next thing we're going to do is pulse the entire leg package in towards our body, but we're not using our hands to assist. So lift the left foot off of the ground and bring that calf, parallel to the ground, okay? And then we'll inhale here. And as we exhale, just pulse the leg in. So you can move while breathing. These are going to be micro movements, right? They're not going to be huge. Okay, after that 5th one, we're going to use our hands now. We're going to grab behind the left thigh and just hug the leg package in just for a couple breaths. Let it stretch out. Okay, release and let that left foot return to the ground. Now this next one is, it can be very challenging. What I want us to do is lift and lower the right ankle and the right shin away from the left knee and then back down to it. We want to do our best to keep this part of our leg as it is. So I don't want the right knee coming up in towards your upper body. We want to keep it nice and perpendicular to the left leg. And we're just going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. This really takes some brain power to not just want to jerk the right knee up towards your upper body. We're letting all of the movement come from that right hip joint. Do 1 more. Good. Go ahead and lift that leg away 1 more time from the knee, and then using your hands, grab your lower half of the right leg, like maybe you were kind of cradling a baby, so foot and knee, and then we're just going to sway that leg from side to side. Again, we're trying to let this movement come from the hip joint. So keeping your back flat on the ground, trying to keep the pelvis fairly neutral. Just so you know, my right hip is constantly popping when I do this. It's like a little pop, 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 pop. Okay, bring the leg back to center. Let the right foot return to the left knee. And we're just gonna windshield wiper the whole leg package from side to side. You might even play with letting that right foot touch down on the ground. Almost finding a semblance of a twist. Okay, bring the legs back to center. We're going to uncross the right foot and repeat that entire process on the left side. Okay, so inhale the left foot up towards the ceiling. Exhale, cross it over the right knee. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is practice pulsing this knee away from the upper body. So we're just going to press it towards the opposite side of our mat. Let it come back in. Press, release. Press, release. Okay, come back to stillness. We're going to lift the right foot off the ground, bring that leg package up, and then we're just going to pulse it in and away. Pulse, away. And then use your hands, grab behind the right thigh, and just hug the whole leg package in for a couple of breaths. Good. Release the right foot back to the ground. Now we're going to lift and lower this left foot off of the right knee. Remember, we're trying to keep the left knee actively pushed away so it's not pulling up and towards our chest, okay? So we're just going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. And lift the leg one more time. Bring the hands in to cradle the bottom half of this leg. And just gently rock from right to left. Trying to keep that movement centralized to the hip joint. And my left hip isn't popping at all, but it goes to show that one side of the body might feel completely different. Oh, there's the pop from the other side. Okay, let that left foot return to the right knee and windshield wiper the hips, side to side. Or windshield wiper the legs, whatever. Good. Bring the legs back to center. Uncross the left foot. Take your feet as wide as your yoga mat. And again, windshield wiper the knees side to side. Nice and slow, right? Again, just noticing where the pops are. Noticing if it's different from when we did this at the beginning of practice. I definitely feel a little more buttery than I did when we first started. Go ahead, bring the knees back to center. Bring the feet in to hips width distance. This is where we're going to need that block I mentioned. So grabbing the block, we want to have it on the thinnest setting, and we want to place it in between our knees, okay? So we want to squeeze the block with our knees, and we're actually going to lift both feet off of the ground and bring the shins parallel to the mat. So you can do that and then adjust the block as needed, okay? So this is another little mobility exercise we're going to do. Arms can be down by your side to help support you here. And we're going to do some external rotation of the hip joint. This is something we don't do often, so it's going to be a very micro movement. And essentially what we want to do, we're going to squeeze the block together with the knees, and then one leg at a time, we're going to let this, we'll start with the left foot, okay? The left foot is going to rotate out towards the edge of our mat and then come back in. And again, this movement's coming from the hip. So left foot presses out towards the edge of the mat, comes back in. Go ahead and try. Squeezing the block between the knees. Good. Bring back to center. Let's set the feet down on the ground for just a moment before we do the other side. That does warm up the core as well. Okay, maybe give the hips a little wiggle, and then lift the feet. Bring the shins parallel to the mat, and we're gonna press the right foot out towards the right edge of the mat. Bring it back in. Press it out. Bring it back in. A few more. Good. Hug the knees, come back to center, hug the knees in towards the chest for just a moment. I know that builds up a little tension in the lower back, at least it does for me. And then let the feet return to the mat. We're still squeezing that block in between the knees. Let's just do a few rolling bridges with the block in between the knees. We're not going full force 100% here, so just inhale those hips up at about 50%. Exhale, lower down. 3 more. Last one. Good. Remove the block. Again, take your feet as wide as your yoga mat and windshield wiper those knees side to side. Nice and slow. Okay, bring the knees back to center, but keep the feet wide, okay? We're gonna do a little crunch to come off of our back and into a seat. So stack your hands, okay? One palm on top of the other hand. And then we're just going to take a little crunch to come out of this. So hands are gonna reach up right in between the legs. All right, once we are up, we're gonna come into something called deer pose. With the legs wide, you might be able to rotate into it. I want to turn so that you can see me. So if you're on your mat and your legs are wide, we're going to rotate to the right and allow the knees to drop down. Okay, so we've got sort of this 90-90 with our legs, okay? And in an ideal world, I suppose you would have this sort of perfect 90 on the back leg, but that can be a lot for the hips, right? So this back foot, this left foot can come in closer to the glute if you need to, all right? And then we're gonna turn the torso so that we're facing our right thigh, okay? And from here, we're gonna come into a little bit of a fold. So I want you to take a nice big inhale. And then on the exhale, this is where you might need to use your hands a little. We're gonna come down to our forearms, all right? If you cannot come down to your forearms, you can stay maybe on your fingertips, just slightly folded over. If this is way too much for your hips, you're like, no, Misty, that's not happening. I want you to stay right here, okay? So finding what works for you. We're going to take about 5 or 6 deep breaths wherever we're at. Good. On an inhale, if you were folded over, just press your way out of that fold. Come back to your nice tall spine. Okay, again, we're going to do a little, we're not even really going to move here. We're going to imagine that we're actively pressing both of our knees down in towards the ground. Okay, so front knee is pressing down in towards the ground, and maybe you're imagining that this right foot is lifting up. It is not going to lift up, okay? But that's like the energy, the energetic transfer we're going for here, okay? And then we're also pressing down into this left knee. So left knee is pressing down into the ground. It's activating us through the hips, and we're just going to breathe. Okay, we are going to switch sides. So I want you to roll back onto your bum. You're going to have to lean on your hands on this part. And then just maybe windshield wiper the legs from side to side for just a moment, because we're going to find that deer pose to the other side. Okay? Good. Once you're here, sit up nice and tall. Notice how the hips are feeling. Maybe you want to stay right here. Maybe you want to find the fold. Good. Slowly press back up if you are folded over. And again, sitting with our tall spine, we're going to imagine, we're going to use our mind to press both of the knees down into the ground, sort of activating this rotation in the hip joint, or this pressure in the hip joint. Breathing. So it's as if I came by and used my hand to press your knees down into the ground. That's what we're doing with our muscles here. Good. Release. We're going to roll back onto the butt, and we're going to windshield wiper from side to side a couple of times. Good. Coming back more to center, we're going to find a wide leg fold. So let your legs go wide, feet are flexed, toes are flexed back towards your face. Okay. And we're going to find a fold here, but most of us don't have the hip mobility to like fold onto the ground in a wide-legged stance, unless you're super mobile and you do the splits, right? So for most of us, this is just going to look like leaning forward a little bit, getting into the hips a little, and then just breathing right here. Try to keep your spine long. We're working on the hips, so we want that rotation to be in the hip joints. Okay. However far folded forward you were, lean back. And again, we're going to windshield wiper those legs. So bend the knees. Maybe you keep the feet extra wide, so the windshield wiper is extra wide. Good. Come back to center. We're going to come into butterfly pose now. So bringing the soles of the feet together, knees are out wide. Hands can be on the feet. Maybe you give yourself a little foot massage for a second, right? Or hands are resting on the ankles. And we're just going to do some butterfly flaps. I remember doing these in kindergarten. Okay, so just flapping the knees up and down. Okay. Releasing that, letting the legs come to stillness. We're going to fold forward again. This time the elbows are going to splay out wide. I like to let the elbows rest on my knees if you have that range of mobility here. And again, we're keeping the spine long and just finding a hinge or a fold to get into the hips. If you start to fold forward too far and you're feeling it in your lower back, I want you to back up a little. You can even use the hands physically to press the knees down, being very careful and gentle here. Good. Again, come out of the fold. Last time, we're going to windshield wiper those puppies from side to side. Coming back to center, we are coming back to lay down to end class, okay? And the way we're ending class, we're going to have a couple of different hip opening. I'm not going to call them stretches because we're going to lay here passively and try to let gravity do its job and open up the hips, okay? So just coming down onto your back, doing your best to soften and relax here. We're going to come into this reclined tree pose on each side. So go ahead and bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Bend that right knee, right? So like if we were standing in tree, but we're just laying down on the ground. And we want to bring the right foot up pretty high up and towards the thigh to get a nice rotation in the hip. Of course, finding what works for you. This is just my guidance for where my body's at. And then arms are going to rest down by your side. And we're just going to rest here for about 30 seconds. Really letting that hip open, letting the body sink into the mat, not trying to press anything down or away or up, just using the breath to let the body soften here. Okay, we're going to switch sides. So extend the right leg long, take your time. Once that leg is long, maybe you wiggle the hips a little, and then bring the left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Left knee is out on the ground. And again, relax and soften. Slowly stretch the left leg out. Again, maybe wiggle the hips. Maybe windshield wiper the feet with the legs long. This is going to cause a little rotation at the hip joints, the knee joints. And then coming into one more posture, we're going to come into reclined butterfly. So bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide. And again, we're going to rest here for about 30 seconds, just letting our body soften into this pose. If this is very uncomfortable for you, which it can be for some people, you can make fists with your hands and prop your fist up in right near the hip joint to give the legs a little extra support so there's not so much stress on the hip joint with the legs um, open like this. Okay, very slowly. You can use your hands to assist. We're going to begin to lift both knees up towards the middle of the mat, towards the ceiling, coming out of that pose. And then from here, just windshield wiper the legs from side to side. You don't have to go super deep, just a couple of more seconds right here. And then we'll bring the knees back to center, feet or hips width distance. We're in constructive rest pose. We will close practice from here. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Exhale to sigh out of the mouth. Thank you for joining me for this happy hips practice. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Namaste.